Hi there. Today, we need to talk about the West. We need to talk about this westward expansion, this 1830s, 40s, 50s westward expansion, this idea of manifest destiny. So we're going to do two things. One, we're going to talk about manifest destiny, what the term means, what the mindset was behind it. The second, I want to talk about one specific group, not because they were the largest group, but because they help us really understand the mindset of some of these people heading out west. All right. First and foremost, manifest destiny. One thing we have to understand is that the U.S. had been expanding from the very beginning. There was the expansion to get to the Appalachian Mountains. There was expansion over the Appalachian Mountains to the Mississippi. Now we're going to go beyond into all the other areas out west. All right. And the thing is, there's actually four mindsets, four separate, interrelated mindsets that make up this concept of manifest destiny. The first is the concept of conquering the North American continent. There was a lot of people who just believed that U.S. was destined to conquer the North American continent. Two, there was this belief that the West held the key to the expansion of the American economy. There was new free land out there. There was new markets that could be tapped into. There was new resources. This is a very Hamiltonian idea, but also it's a very Jeffersonian idea that the small farmers had a place to move to. Okay. Third was this concept of the expansion of democracy. Remember, it's not long ago that they had actually written the Constitution, and now you're only into the second generation. The people who really embraced this concept that they are a democratic nation. So, they believe that they need to expand democracy to the world, and you need to start with your continent first. Fourth, and this one goes a little further, they called it the divine mission. It's this concept that white Americans had to provide their way of life, not just Christianity, in fact, not even really Christianity, but their way of life as Americans to the backwards people of the West. These would be the Indians, and these would be the Mexicans, and these would even be the Spanish, who had become Mexicans and lived out there. Please don't ignore the racist aspects of this. All right. This is the concept of manifest destiny, to expand to the West, and you had all these different four justifications for it. Anybody could find one of these four to be fascinating. But there's a group who became obsessed with all of them. And the group I want to refer to is a group called the Mormons. You may know them. Some of you may be Mormon. And you may know where this story is going, because the story is of the move of the Mormons out to Utah. Quick background. It all starts with a guy named Joseph Smith, who starts the movement of Mormonism in upstate New York. If you want to know more about the religion, look it up. That doesn't really concern me. But he's going to get a following. This is during the Second Great Awakening. We'll read about the Second Great Awakening next week. And this group becomes strong-knit families, a strong sense of community, views on Christianity that, frankly, were very different from others, and a lot of people didn't like. They also practiced polygamy, marrying more than one wife, which also a lot of people didn't like. So they're going to have to flee. They're going to be run out of places. They're going to move from New York to Ohio. They're going to move from Ohio to Missouri, Missouri to Illinois, and Illinois eventually to Utah. But it's that move that we're referring to. Because at Nuevo, Illinois, in the 1840s, they'll have about 15,000 people. This is kind of the Mormon capital, if you will. They are persecuted mainly for practicing polygamy, which most of the people around the area didn't believe in. Smith was lynched. All right. His next in charge, if you will, a guy named Brigham Young. Yes, this is BYU, Brigham Young, takes hold. And he decides that if they want to get a start, if they want any kind of freedom, that they need to move out west. They need to leave the persecution behind, and so he is going to pack up the entire Mormon community and marched them out the Oregon Trail. Now, you've read about the Oregon Trail. We're talking about the Oregon Trail this week. Um, the covered wagons and the Indians. A lot of you may have played the Oregon Trail computer game growing up. Um, so they will follow this trail out, and they will branch off right at the end into Utah, and if you look at your map, non-U.S. territory. They will be legally within Spain, or Spanish territory, excuse me. Um, they will make this a religious haven. Um, they begin settling the surrounding communities. Utah will grow into what it is today. Of course, other influences will come later. But look at what we got here. You got this concept of the expansion of democracy, because these were actually very patriotic people, and they believed in the system of democracy. You've got this conquering of the continent. They're actually moving into another country's territory and claiming to be Americans. You've got that divine mission. I think that's obvious from their lifestyle and their belief in Indians, etc. And you've got that expansion of the economy, because immediately they start setting up lines of trade back. So in this one group, you see all four of these mindsets of manifest destiny engulfed in this one very small group. Here's the amazing thing about this group. It's not that what they did or what they accomplished. What's amazing is how they did it. Instead of having the big kind of Conestoga wagons, they used hand carts. Hand carts. 2 wheels, cart, you stand up, and you roll with the cart. All the way from Illinois to Utah. That is determination. That is something that says something about the mindset of manifest destiny, the expansion of the time. If they're willing to walk that whole way with hand carts, 15,000 people. Now, please understand where they're crossing. This is Nebraska. I don't know if any of you have been to Nebraska, but I have. Nebraska and Kansas are very similar. Several years ago, I biked across Kansas. It took me 8 days, and the longest 8 days of my life. Kansas people are some of the nicest people in the world. And the reason they are, I've come to this determination, is because they have to be. Because there is nothing else there. And they just have to be nice, or they will all kill each other. That's my theory. Here's the story. So, I'm biking along. And if you've ever biked, sometimes you get down on the handlebars and you're looking down. And I remember looking at the timepiece, and I looked right down at the front wheel. And I'm watching the front wheel go around and around. And I just phase out. You do that. You just kind of phase out. Well, when I looked back up, what I saw before me was the exact same scene I had seen before I phased out. There's the silo, there's a town way off in the distance, there's little black specks that were cows off in the distance, flat as far as you could see. I had been looking at the ground for 45 minutes. The roads were so straight it didn't matter, and nothing had changed. 15 miles an hour for 45 minutes, and nothing had changed. This is the place they were crossing. They called it the Great American Desert. You have to have some determination to be one of these people who takes the Oregon Trail or who takes the Mormon Trail to do this. Your job this week is to tell me, explain that mindset of manifest destiny and what that intersection was. That's it. We'll see you soon.